I'm going to exit out over the overlay. Okay, so let's jump back in. We haven't really been dealing with many blocks here, just this one on the side. But by the time you get done with a typical Drupal site, you'll have dozens of blocks that you're working with. Sometimes it'll reach almost to 100. And when you go to the blocks page, I'm going to go to structure and then click on blocks. You see that all of the blocks are listed here in a single list. And it gets kind of ridiculous when you start to look at 100 blocks in this context. It also gets kind of slow. So this is the first limitation of the default blocks configuration page. There are a couple of other shortcomings too. The first limitation is that you're limited in where you can tell this block to display. If you tell it to display at the very top of the blocks in the right sidebar, you can't then, in some other context, tell it to display in the left sidebar below some other blocks. With this blocks configuration, there's only one place where the block can be. So that's the first one. The second limitation is that you're limited in how you can tell when a block is supposed to display. You can only set paths or groups of paths in order to tell it to display or to not display. So these three things, one, an unwieldy configuration page, second, limitations in where you can display a block, and third, limitations on how you can tell a block to display sometimes and not others, these three things are what the context module aims to do better. And even though we're only dealing with one block right now, as we go through this process, we'll be dealing with more and more, and it helps to set up a good foundation to begin with. And this way, we don't have to backtrack too far to get to the point where we're using context. Now, just to be clear, not everybody uses context, and sometimes there are projects where context isn't needed because the block structure is going to be so simple, you don't need those extra tools. But it is a tool that you need to know about, and chances are it will come in handy.